warned against the growing populist tide in the GOP as he admonished Putin apologists unwilling to stand up to the Russian leader over his assault on Ukraine. Greg Clugston, the White House.
President Xi Jinping, China's most powerful leader in decades, has increased his dominance today after being named to another term as head of the ruling Communist Party. Xi, who took power in 2012, was awarded a third 5-year term as general secretary, discarding a party custom in which his predecessors left after 10 years. The party also named a 7-member ruling standing committee dominated by Xi allies. Chanting crowds in cities around the world yesterday, marking their solidarity with protesters facing government crackdowns in Iran. More on these stories at townhall.com.
These are Got a deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleburne, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleburne, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give him a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Abnormal realities.
I love my mom.
Yep. She sent me a message.
My mom did?
Yeah, Wednesday night, and she invited me over tomorrow night to watch Titanic and share a bowl of popcorn. And I accepted.
You did?
Yep.
That'd be fun.
And she calls it Chaps Only Night. Every Saturday night.
Look.
Miss Dixie, how you doing? He said, it's my mom, bro. All right, it's my mom.
I want to hear the answer to the Titanic and popcorn. Go ahead, Mom. What's up?
Oh!
Hi, boys. I just wanted to ask Rocky if he wanted butter on that popcorn or not.
I would rather have the butter somewhere else, but if popcorn's the only place I can have it, I'll take it.
Jeez,
hey,
dude.
Nobody says I can't roll around in it for a little bit.
All right, Mom.
That is
love
my girl. I love you,
Mom.
Dixie.
Abnormal realities.
My mom, love you.
Dixie.
Bye, I love you too.
With Ron and Rocky. Weekdays, 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on JoCo Community Radio.
Holy crap.
When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson, Cleburne, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
Hello, welcome back to Inside of the Game. My name is Kelvin. Happy to be back with you on a Sunday morning, a fantastic Sunday morning for a few reasons. A lot of football going on today, but this is the greatest time of the year for sports. There really is no better. I believe on the 26th, which is in 3 days, we will have what in the sports world we call a combining of the matrix, when there are certain days in the month of October where you will have a NFL game, a NBA game, a hockey game, and a baseball game all happening on the same day. I believe that is happening the 26th, if I'm not mistaken. And it is also the 26th time. Actually, it might be today, It's today. So it's today. You're getting all 4 sports today. And it is the 26th time that this has happened in sports, I guess, history. Which is pretty sweet, which means that you shouldn't leave your couch today. You should be on your couch from about noon to about 10:30 at night, watching and taking literally everything in. So a lot of stuff to get into. The biggest, probably big thing today that's going on is Dak Prescott is returning. They're taking on the Detroit Lions at noon today. And this is a big deal. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We said that there would be some unfortunate fans who for some odd reason, would be very obliged to have Cooper Rush stay as the quarterback. That was before the Philadelphia game. We got into the Philadelphia game, and that opinion changed very, very quickly. There were not a lot of Cooper Rush supporters after the night was over. Now, granted, I am going to give Cooper Rush this. For a backup quarterback, you ask for your backup quarterback to do exactly what Cooper Rush did, right? You ask for him to go out there and, as good as he possibly can, go out there and win some football games. Hopefully, until your starting quarterback comes back. The problem is that here in Dallas, we get so enamored by just everything. And sometimes our expectations are just a little crazy. It's okay. You can admit it. That we got Dak Prescott chilling on the sideline. We have Cooper Rush winning football games. He goes 4-0 as a starter. And we're already singing the praises of Cooper Rush. Now, deservingly so. He deserved the praises because we were for sure that the Cowboys were probably going to be in some big trouble if they did not get some help rather quickly. And Cooper Rush came in as the backup and did his job. Dak Prescott is the much better player. Dak Prescott gives the Cowboys the best chance to win football games, and he gives the Cowboys the best chance to compete for a Super Bowl. Those things are all true. And I'm trying to figure out a way to not mess up your feelings, but those are facts. Dak Prescott is a much better player. Dak Prescott is making more money, which is deserving of his starting spot. Okay, just going to throw that out there. All right. And he absolutely is the guy that needs to be starting for the Dallas Cowboys today. I think the best thing that could have happened for Dak Prescott, as horrible as this sounds, is for Cooper Rush to have a bad game like he did in Philly and throw 3 interceptions. But I'm going to give Cooper Rush this. At one point, that game was 20-17. It was 20-3, and then it got to 20-17, and things got a little interesting. But the 3 interceptions were the best thing that could have happened to Dak Prescott. They will be going up against a very good offense in the Detroit Lions. They are, funny enough, ranked the number 1 offense and the worst defense in the NFL. I don't really know how that all works or how you put those two things together, but that is what the Detroit Lions are currently constructed of. I expect a high-scoring game, and I expect the Dallas Cowboys to come out on top 100%. I like what they've been doing. I think this defense is phenomenal. I think Micah Parsons is the real deal. And because of that, I like the Cowboys today for sure. He is going to be starting today. I believe the last time I saw he was able to grip. Obviously, they're going to go through all the tests, and they're going to go through all of the things that they need to get his hand back to where it needed to be after that Tampa Bay game. But he can grip the football the way that he needs to grip the football. He can throw the ball the way that he needs to throw the football. And he is back in action, ready to rumble today for the Dallas Cowboys. That, to me, is my easiest pick of the day. The Lions, they fight, and they fight hard, but it is tough when your defense is so bad. I expect the Cowboys for sure to get in a roll and to get moving and to win this football game. I'm just going to kind of run through some of the big storylines here in the first half hour of the show. During this NFL Sunday, I'll make my picks at the end of the show before we get done here. But Falcons-Bengals, this game is a very interesting one. The Bengals haven't beat an NFC opponent at home since 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're the big money guy and you want to take the Falcons as an underdog, a 6.5, maybe that's your pick. But this Falcons team is playing pretty well. So was this Bengals team. Trying to look at some other big headlines. Colts and Titans, that's a big AFC South showdown. Can the Packers get things together with the Commanders? Giants are trying to go to 6-1. That's a big storyline. Looking down the list of games here. Chiefs, 49ers. That is also a big game for a couple of reasons. We had some very big news in the NFL yesterday, matter of fact, where we saw the San Francisco 49ers. I believe this was on Thursday night, if I'm not mistaken. Was this Thursday night? This was Thursday night. Thursday night, we got the news on all of our phones and all of our Twitter devices that the San Francisco 49ers had traded for Christian McCaffrey. Now, let me give you some context here. The Carolina Panthers are in rebuild mode completely. They have fired their head coach, and they are pretty much their entire roster is up for grabs. There's a couple of key pieces that they want to keep during this rebuild, but the Carolina Panthers are 1-5, and they are completely done with trying to compete this year or next season, right? And so that being the case, they were willing to get rid of maybe the best running back when healthy in terms of production-wise, okay? In terms of production-wise, when it comes to Christian McCaffrey, many people would probably put Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor in that conversation of best running backs. But the point is, they're on a fire sale, and they are for sure not one to try to keep all these assets. They want draft picks. They want draft capital. They want tons and tons and tons and tons of draft picks to rebuild, right? So that a new head coach can come in, do his thing, and rebuild this program. The 49ers decided to jump in and go all in on Christian McCaffrey, and here they go. Essentially, the 49ers don't have any draft picks in the first or second round till like 2026, something ridiculous like that. That is unbelievable. They are all in, and they're going to have to be all in on Jimmy Garoppolo because Trey Lance is gone for the season. They're going to make a run here. Now you have an offense with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and now Christian McCaffrey heading to the San Francisco 49ers, back where he played in California for Stanford. And what makes this now very interesting is that he's going to get to play today. Now, we're not entirely sure how much, but he's going to get to play today for the San Francisco 49ers in some capacity against the Kansas City Chiefs. And if that is the case, that could be a humongous deal. And that would be a lot of fun to see him play and try to give this offense some more potency to what it already may have as a team. What's crazy about this trade is just how willing they were to get this done as quickly as they were. Now, the Carolina Panthers were not going to say no to this offer. And it's surprising to me that we even got this in the way that it did. They've been fielding calls for a lot of other players in Carolina that could be available for teams. And so I guess it's just a matter of waiting to see when they decide to blow this thing up completely and when they decide to keep some of these players. So I'm not entirely sure what is going to happen in Carolina, but that big trade now I think tips the scale. The 49ers were my team to come out of the NFC, and this absolutely catapults them, I think, to a much better level. The only issue here with Christian McCaffrey is him being healthy. And so if that is the case, then, we got some things to worry about, but I think they're going to be perfectly fine. And hopefully if Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy, the 49ers are something to be absolutely reckoned with for the rest of the season. Their 3-3 record to me doesn't really show the entire story, and I think they're going to be big time with Christian McCaffrey at the helm at running back. And just think about the amazing things that they can do running the football already with the backups and the guys that they've been able to bring in with that offensive line. Now Kyle Shanahan gets an amazing guy that he can put as a receiver, as a running back, and for sure get some insane production out of. So some things to watch for this week. There are 4 teams that have a bye. It's Buffalo, the Rams, Minnesota, and Philadelphia. But there are some things to watch for. Dak Prescott, of course, is going to play. Let's get back to the Cowboys here in just a second. Lions have the worst defense in the league. They've been allowing almost 430 yards per game. So this could be a good thing for Dak Prescott, especially after you're not coming back against a team that has an unbelievable defense that has been on a roll. You're going up against a really bad Lions team with a good offense, okay? But the Cowboys, the Cowboys defense is the best defense that they're going to play to date. So this is actually funny enough. The 5th meeting between Dak Prescott and Jared Goff. Dak Prescott is 1-3 against Goff, tied for the most losses versus any starting quarterback in his interesting career. So something to keep a note of while we're there. But this is big for the Cowboys. And for Cowboy fans out there that could be listening that are maybe a little confused, why isn't Cooper Rush? Why aren't we giving him another chance? This is just how it goes, people. Dak Prescott is your starting quarterback. I don't care if Cooper Rush goes to the Super Bowl and would have won it. Dak Prescott's your starting quarterback. And as horrible as that may be for him to kind of think about, because we have a very similar maybe Nick Foles, Carson Wentz situation going on, it's not even a question in my mind that week 1 next year, Dak Prescott's my starting quarterback. This Cowboys team's got a lot to it. They've got some very interesting pieces here, and you don't want to waste that by potentially sitting your starting quarterback because you love the idea of Cooper Rush playing. No, I'm sorry. So, big time game today, I think, for Dak Prescott mentally, right? Mentally. If he can get that right, then I think they're going to be in a very good spot going forward. I mean, jumping to 5-2 here after not having your starting quarterback for 4 or 5 weeks is such a humongous deal and such a jump on the rest of the league to be able to have that security blanket. Jimmy Johnson very famously said, your most important player is your starting quarterback. The second most important player on your 53-man roster is your backup. And so if you can do that and have 2 guys that can perform and know the system and be able to do their thing, I think you've got a pretty good thing going on there with your roster. So wanted to get to a couple of other big games today that maybe have some big storylines attached to them. We talked about Chiefs 49ers. I think one of the bigger games this week is going to be this Packers-Commanders game. Taylor Heineke is going to get the start. Carson Wentz has gone on IR, meaning he's going to miss the Colts game, which he played for last year. He's also going to miss the Philadelphia game, which, of course, he played for very famously a couple of years ago. And that being the case, there's going to be no Carson Wentz for the next 4 weeks. there's going to be a lot of Taylor Heineke for the Washington Commanders. And I'm not entirely sure how that maybe all plays out. I don't know. I just think that offense is a mess. I think that whole team is maybe a mess. They've had chances, but they just can't. I mean, it's the turnovers and the penalties for that football team are huge and detrimental. That being said, they're playing a Packers team that is coming in today and has struggled, like mightily struggled. Aaron Rodgers without Davante Adams, it seems like a very different human being. and it's sad to say that because of how great of a quarterback he has been over the past 16, 17 years that he's been in the NFL. But this offense just doesn't look right. It's not humming at the right speed. There are flashes. There are flashes of good things when it comes to Aaron Rodgers and his offense. There are flashes of being able to kind of process what is going on defensively, and they get into these great sets and they do some good things, but they haven't been able to do that consistently. And so losing to the New York Jets last week might have been an all-time low for Aaron Rodgers, to be completely honest. But he's got some stuff that now they've got to figure out. I don't know if there's tension in that locker room. I don't know if LaFleur has lost it. But they haven't figured out how to replace Davante Adams. And I don't even know if they're ever obviously going to replace what many people believe to be the best receiver in the NFL. He was almost everything for that offense. And now there's a lot of young guys that are now going to have to take that mantle and try to push it forward with a guy like Aaron Rodgers who doesn't have time to teach these rookies how to play football. You know, he wants to win it in the Super Bowl before he has to retire. So putting all that together, you get into a very interesting spot with the Green Bay Packers. Let's see, Panthers quarterbacks Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. They're not playing today, but they may be able to play tomorrow or next week when they have when they play Atlanta. All right, well, there you go. 2 quarterbacks gone for the day today. No Sam Darnold and no Baker Mayfield for these Carolina Panthers. But continuing on with the Packers and the Commanders, I don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if his head maybe just isn't completely there. If that is the case, then that's on him. I mean, we can't really blame too many more people and talk about too many more things, but that is just simply what he's got going on, and I don't really know how he's going to get through that and fix it. But he needs to, because this Packers team is in a very interesting spot. Now, for all the Packer fans that may say, relax, right? When the Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010, 2011, they were 3-3 after 6 games. And sure enough, after 6 games this season, they are in fact 3-3. So big time stuff. Let me talk about one of the weirdest things that I have seen all year. First of all, let me just tell the NFL this. Please, for the love of everything that is good in our life, stop putting the Denver Broncos on national TV. And I know that this was hyped up before the season, and deservingly so, because Russell Wilson was coming into town, and I fully get it, and I'm aware, okay? I understand. But after 3 weeks of the same product, this should be something that the NFL can mandate, or the networks. The networks should be able to be like, look, we do not want this football team on national television. Please take them off the TV. Do whatever you need to do, but get them off my television. And man, if they could do that, what great things could happen. What great things could happen for other teams. The Denver Broncos are probably one of the weirdest things that I have ever seen in football. You get a Hall of Fame quarterback who, okay, he may not be in his prime, but he's good enough in his prime to give you some production with guys like Jerry Jeudy, with guys like KJ Hamler, with guys like Cortland Sutton, okay? These are guys that should be able to produce with a Hall of Fame quarterback. What's crazy to me is that the head coach that they have almost seems incapable of coaching to the point where he had to hire, Nathaniel Hackett had to hire somebody else to manage the football game so that he could focus on calling plays. The guy simply cannot coach. I have no idea what's wrong with Russell Wilson. He's been playing 4 games with a torn labrum in his right shoulder. Why hasn't anybody said anything about this? Why are we not talking about this? What's going on? How did we just find out about this 4 weeks in? Why has he even been playing if the team doctors even knew this? There's a lot of things that are weird about this football team. And now you've got NFL teams, as they sit at 2-4, calling the Denver Broncos and asking about some of their great players that they can trade for because they feel like the mood is gone in Denver. The locker room, gone in Denver. The players, absolutely gone in Denver. So if you're another team, why can't you make calls about these receivers or some of these defensive players? And they have been fielding a lot of trade calls. I don't know what's wrong with Russell Wilson. I don't know what's wrong with this Denver team, but they are so bad. And I wish the NFL I wish they could just watch this. I wish they could just understand what we go through as fans having to watch this garbage on a nightly basis. Stop it. The last 3 games that the Denver Broncos have on national TV on a primetime slot, remove them. Please. As quickly as possible. Get them out. Put another team in. I don't even care at this point. I don't care what team it is. Please get them out of the national TV slot. They have been getting trade calls. Over the past week, the Broncos have received multiple trade inquiries about star defensive end Bradley Chubb, wide receivers Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. The Broncos will not sell low, obviously. If any trades are going to be happen, it will be at a very, very, very high price. Obviously, Russell Wilson with that thumb injury is not going to be playing this week. He will not be playing this week. He will be playing in 4 weeks, it looks like. I believe they put him on IR. They're trying to get him maybe out there next week. But now all of a sudden, we've got a report out there that he may potentially not be able to go next week as well. So it is Mark Rypien to start today in Denver against the New York Jets. And the New York Jets could jump to 5-2 here. This is not a good Broncos team. In any level, they're not a good Broncos team. And so knowing and putting all of those things together, you're getting into an interesting spot where could Russell Wilson signing in Denver be one of the biggest disasters in NFL history? Not to mention they gave the guy $248 million. Okay? $248 million over the next several years to play quarterback. And they have been doing more punting than anything else. Alrighty, when we come back from the break, we got some other stuff to get into. I got to get to some college football. We got to talk power rankings. Baseball's going on. We got to talk some baseball, and we'll get back to the NFL, make our picks when we come back.
Hey, travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right. Call, because the best prices are not online. They're with Smart Fares. See, Smart Fares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use Smart Fares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our Smart Fares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call Smart Fares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
Welcome back. Glad that you're here. Got some news actually while I was out getting some water on that break. If I am correct here, this is going to be impacting that Cowboys game happening in just a few moments. In about a half hour. Where is the news at? Oh, okay. There it is. So DeAndre Swift, the running back, or one of the two power running backs here for the Detroit Lions, will not be playing today. Here in Dallas, in about a half an hour, he has been ruled inactive for the third straight game. So, good news for that Cowboys defense. Again, Lions really good offensively, really, really, really bad defensively. So this is a big deal, very, very, very big deal for the Lions offense, and good news, I guess, if you want to think about it that way, for this Cowboys defense that has been on a roll lately. 16 points per game. That's the only thing that they've been allowing. I believe they haven't allowed more than one touchdown in the second half of a football game, something along those lines. They have been very, very, very good. Credit to Dan Quinn a lot here. I know McCarthy's going to get a lot of this credit because it is his defense to a certain extent. I mean, his football team to a certain extent. But Dan Quinn deserves every single bit of credit, an ounce of credit, for what he has done with this football team, especially on the defensive side. Many people really wanted Dan Quinn to be the next head coach and have McCarthy step aside after last season. I think that is still a possibility. I think that is very much a possibility, depending on how the season ends for the Dallas Cowboys. If they are to end the season and they get to the playoffs and they are beat out in the first round, I think you could see a scenario where the Dallas Cowboys would move off of Mike McCarthy, and that would have to include Jerry Jones admitting that he was wrong, which is something that he cannot do. There's not an inch of bone in his body that thinks that he's done anything wrong, right? but that would require him having to say that he was wrong and then elevate Dan Quinn as the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, which is what I was pushing for last year and what I think many Cowboy fans should be pushing for this year as well. So, a lot of good things to be thinking about for the Cowboys today. They get the noon slot. It's not a hugely televised, marketed game. It's not in prime time. It's a perfect time for Dak Prescott to come back against not a very good football team, get his feet under himself, and get this thing rolling as they continue on their stretch of games. And look, starting, coming back as a starting quarterback and knowing that your backup was able to win you 4 games is a good deal, because if I'm going to look here at the rest of the schedule here for the Cowboys, there are some very winnable football games here. This is a very, very, very easy schedule. They have gotten rid of all their tough games early on. They have the Lions today. They get the Bears at home next week. Then they will be on the road in Green Bay. That could be interesting just because it's Green Bay and it's just because it's Aaron Rodgers. They're on the road at Minnesota. That could be a massive game for seeding-wise in the playoffs. And then the Giants come to town. That'll be another massive game, right? But then you've got a stretch here of like the Texans, the Commanders, the Jaguars. You still got to play the Eagles at home. That was a close game. You imagine now with your starting quarterback, you're in a much better spot. So I think there's like 6 games here that are winnable. Your record is 10-6, 11-5. So there's not a bad, or 11-6, sorry. There's not a bad scenario here where the Cowboys are in a rough spot. I think that they are in an interesting place where they now have their starting quarterback and they can get things back on the road and get this thing rolling the way that it should be rolling. This defense is playing phenomenally. The Cowboys shouldn't change anything. This is what I would say about today. If I had to say anything about today, it would be don't change anything that you are doing, okay? Just because Dak Prescott is back. They need to run their offense as if Cooper Rush was there. They need to run their offense as if they were on this 4-game winning streak all over again. Okay? That's how they need to run with this. Yeah, I just don't think there's any single way. I'm looking here at an article written by Bill Barnwell about the Cowboys. I mean, Todd Archer, sorry. They need to not change anything. The moment you begin to change things, especially when your starting quarterback comes in, you get all messed up. That's the last thing you need. Don't get crazy. Go back to what has worked for you as a Cowboys team over the last 4 weeks and just implement it and make it even better, because now you have your starting quarterback in business. So, there's a good shot and a good chance here for a lot of these guys to be able to get back to what they wanted to do for a long time. And so I think it's going to be big for the Cowboys. Okay, I want to get to some other stuff here that is happening in the world of sports before I make my picks on every game here this week. Let's head to some college football. Let me give you some amazing stats that are making Kelvin very, very happy right now. If you don't know, I was born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. For some reason, I never became a Vanderbilt fan. Maybe that's because they just were simply never good at anything. They're good at basketball, and they're insanely one of the best programs in college baseball for years and years and years and years, right? But all I will say is this. There are 2 teams now, obviously lived in Tennessee for 18 years, moved here to Texas, coming to school. Family came as well. So, point is this. I think that when you're able to move to a couple of different places, you become a fan of 2 or 3 different things. I never became a fan of Vanderbilt. I was always a fan of the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, right? And because of that, that's where my allegiance has just been for years. So when we moved here to Texas, I obviously all of a sudden then became a fan of TCU. Big Horned Frogs fan. Love them a lot. They're super just entertaining. I love the color. I'm a big purple guy. I mean, I just became a big TCU guy, right? And so because of that, I have these 2 teams now that I follow. So let me tell you why this makes me very happy currently. In college football, there are only 2 teams that have wins against 4 ranked opponents this year in college football. Both of those teams are TCU and the University of Tennessee. Let me repeat that. There are only 2 teams in college football that can say that they have beaten 4 ranked opponents this season. That is TCU and Tennessee. So that is just how good both of these programs are playing right now. They are both playing like top 5 programs, to be completely honest. I think Tennessee, currently as we sit, I believe as soon as the rankings come out, they'll probably come out here in just a couple of hours. But they will be inside the top 3, I believe. I think Tennessee probably hasn't moved from 3 after they absolutely killed UT Martin 65-24 this weekend. TCU with a massive, massive win here in Fort Worth late last night, 38-28 over Kansas State, who was threatening to maybe get to that Big 12 title game if they were able to beat TCU and jump all the way in the rankings. TCU was down late in this game, 28-24. They were able to score a touchdown. Then they got the interception, ball back, scored another touchdown, and that was just simply ball game. TCU is being led by a 5th senior quarterback. And let me just explain recently, if you look at the landscape of college football and how you are to win football games, okay? In college football, I'll give you an even better example. If you look at March Madness and you look at the history of March Madness and the tournament and the basketball tournament and the 64 teams, teams that have the best guards are the teams that win this tournament. I don't know what it is, but if you have guys that can shoot and that can play make, you have a much better chance, much better chance to win the March Madness tournament, okay, than you do if you have a bunch of big guys. That's not to say that there aren't great big guys in college basketball. What I'm trying to get across is that despite all of that, if you have the guards that can pull this off, okay, and can be the way that they need to be, you've got a better chance. It is a guard-driven league, March Madness in college basketball. It just is. It just is. If you got 5 guys that can all play like guards, that is what you need to be doing, and that's what you need to be focusing on. Same thing with college football. And it is very easy to say, but if you just look at the history and you look at how things have rolled, the juniors, seniors, and super senior quarterbacks who are 23, 24, and 25 are much older. They're much more mature. They're much better. And they're smarter than anybody else on that football field. What does that mean? The teams that are the most successful in college football have these junior and senior 24 and 25-year-old quarterbacks. If you don't have any type of consistency over the last 3 or 4 years in your college program, and you don't have one of these guys, and the only way that this works is if you land some superstar kid, college quarterback, right? That you land. If you can't land any of that, but you've got one of these guys that is stuck in your program for 4 or 5 years, you are going to have a great season with that guy just because he's older, wiser, smarter, and better. That is what TCU is going through right now. Does it not feel like at TCU, Max Duggan has been there for like 35 years? He looks 35 years old. But he's been there for so long that he knows that system so well. Sonny Dykes has done a phenomenal job with that offense and that defense. By the way, fun fact, offensive coordinator for TCU, Lincoln Riley's brother. Okay? After this season, he's going to get head coaching jobs. Offers from all over the country. Because his brother may be one of the best play callers in college football that we've ever seen, now coaching USC. Okay? And his younger brother now, offensive coordinator for TCU, and it is showing. TCU is on a roll, and it is showing. They are undefeated. I'm assuming they will probably jump one spot in the rankings to number 7. They are going to have to win out, and they are going to have to win the Big 12 championship in order to make the college football playoff, which they very easily potentially could. But there's going to be a weird shakeup in college football depending on how the SEC turns out with all of its teams. If we get a 2-loss SEC team, they might be able to squeeze in there because you can't put a 2-loss team in there even if they were to win the SEC title. I mean, it would just have to be a weird situation for TCU, I think, to get in there. The first thing that TCU needs to do, though, is focus on every week going forward. Okay? They still have to go to Texas, but every week going forward, they got to win, and they got to get to the Big 12 title game, and they got to win the Big 12 convincingly. If they can do that and be undefeated, I believe they may have a spot in the college football playoff. And at worst case, if they're at number 5, then perhaps they get the Rose Bowl game in California, which I know would make a lot of TCU fans very upset. I think it would make me very upset as well. But knowing that you can pull that off and do that, I think is going to be a great and a big benefit for TCU. They just got to keep it rolling. Tennessee also, college football is a very interesting spot right now. You have an Alabama team that is 1-loss team. Georgia hasn't lost. Tennessee hasn't lost. Tennessee has beaten Alabama. Tennessee in 2 weeks has to play at Georgia. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to get a very crazy shuffling here of these top 3 teams in the SEC. But you could have a scenario, a very strange and weird scenario, where you get 3 SEC teams in the college football playoff along with Ohio State. And the Michigan fans are going to get mad at me. But you just got to think about what this committee looks at. This committee is weird. It's always been weird, and I've never been a fan of it. But you could have a very strange scenario where you get a Tennessee football team into that playoff without having to have won the SEC title. And if that is the case, then what do you do with Michigan? What do you do with TCU if they win out and win the Big 12? What do you do with a potentially 12-1 USC team that wins the Pac-12? That is why I've always said you have to put this playoff thing to 6 teams. Have to. Give the top 2 teams a bye, and the other 4, you let them play. This has to go to 6 because you've got conference champions that are not going to make from the Power 5 the playoff because of just what they do. Because you can only choose 4 teams. And what if you need to put Alabama and Georgia in this thing? And what if Tennessee goes and beats Georgia in 2 weeks, but they lose the SEC title game and they only have 1 loss? What do you do with them at that point? How do you not put them in the playoff? It's going to be a very weird scenario that, unfortunately, the people that I would not like to have to make that decision, as I talk about the playoff committee, they're going to have to make that decision, and that kind of sucks. Not going to lie to you. I'm trying to see if they had let's see. I'm trying to see if they have brought out for some reason, if they have brought out the playoff rankings here for the teams. I do not believe that they have yet. So, not entirely sure how that is going out. Yeah, they're not out yet. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But in college football, it's going to be a crazy rundown to the last couple of weeks, and I think it's going to really determine a lot on these 2 teams that I talked about. I think TCU and Tennessee could really, and I'm going to throw USC in there, could really shape up what this playoff is going to look like, because the committee is going to have to make some very tough decisions between how Georgia and Alabama play out, because Alabama's now have a loss. And if Tennessee goes to Georgia and beats them and becomes the number 1 team in the country, but they lose the SEC title game to Georgia, man, you're in a rough spot. How in the world do you make that decision? So, it's a lot of crazy things to think about when it comes to college football. What a great week of college football we had, especially here in Fort Worth, watching TCU make that unbelievable comeback to win that game against Kansas State and solidify themselves. Little NBA stuff here going on, actually. Mavs back on the win column here. I think they're poised for a big season. I think Luka's going to win the MVP. He has been utterly phenomenal in the first 2 games. Getting Christian Wood, to me, was such a big move for these Dallas Mavericks. They're in a very, very, very fun spot. I think Jason Kidd just needs to trust his players. I think he sometimes gets to a point where he takes guys out because he wants starters and some type of consistency in there. You got to keep Christian Wood and Luka Doncic on this floor as much as possible. This team is really good. They have a chance to do a lot of really good and big things, but you got to keep them on the floor. Got to keep them on the floor. I think the Mavs go plus 55 wins this year. I think they're one of the top 3 seeds potentially. They've got, to me, the second best player in the league in Luka Doncic, behind maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo. These Mavs are poised for big things, and don't be shocked. This is my prediction now. Do not be shocked if these Dallas Mavericks make a move at the end of this year. Not the end of this year, but at the end of this trade deadline. Don't be surprised if these Mavericks do something to make a move in the trade deadline and get somebody else on this roster that could even push them to a much, much higher level. I think that is well in the works. I think the Mavericks have begun to think about who that person could potentially be and what player that could potentially be. Astros-Yankees is tonight as well, so don't forget about that. The Astros looking for the sweep. I know our general manager here, Tiffany's probably not very happy. She is obviously Yankee faithful, and I'm sure that probably did not sit well with her yesterday. But we're not going to talk about that. Anyway, we'll see if the Yankees can make this thing a series and win tonight. Okay, couple of minutes left here. I'm going to give you my picks for every game, starting with the top here. Falcons at the Bengals. Man, this is tough. I like the Falcons here on the road. I like them to cover. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. They don't have a lot of great history due Cincinnati against these NFC teams at home. Give me the Falcons on the road against Cincinnati Bengals. We talked about this earlier. Give me the Cowboys big over the Lions. I think it's going to be some crazy explosive game. I think both teams are going to get into the late 20s in terms of points. Give me the Cowboys late in like a 35 to 20 something game. Colts at Titans. This is a huge game for supremacy over the AFC South. Give me the Titans at home to beat the Colts. I like them in that game. Packers at Commanders. I got to think that Aaron Rodgers is going to get something on track, right? I got to see if he, for some reason, can get something rolling with these receivers, with this offense. Give me the Packers on the road against the Commanders. Bucks and Panthers. I'm assuming Tom Brady is not going to be very happy if they start losing this game. I think Tampa's going to come out and they're going to play very, very, very well. I like them to beat the Panthers on the road. They are almost 2 touchdowns favorites over the Carolina Panthers. Giants, Jaguars, intriguing games. I like the Giants here in a low-scoring, probably very boring game. I'm not a big fan of what Jacksonville's been doing with Trevor Lawrence, but that's just me. I think they've been in some close games, but I like the Giants in a really boring, low-scoring game. Browns at the Ravens. I like Baltimore here to get things under control here. Go to 4-3 at home. They can't lose another game and be tied with the Cleveland Browns in that division, especially when they don't have their starting quarterback. Jets at the Broncos. I don't like Mark Ripken. I think Zach Wilson and these New York Football Jets jump to 5-2 on the road in Denver. Texans at the Raiders. Give me Houston. I know they don't want to because they want to lose games and get draft picks and get an even higher draft pick, but give me the Houston Texans to beat the Raiders on the road. Raiders got to figure things out, and I don't think they're going to figure it out this week. Seahawks at the Chargers. I really love Geno Smith in this situation, but I'm going to go with the Chargers here at home in a very close game. This could be the best game on Sunday, maybe followed by this one. Chiefs at the 49ers. If Christian McCaffrey's playing 15, 20, 30 snaps, I'm going to give the Niners a shot, and I'm going to give them the shot to win this football game at home at 3:30. Give me the 49ers home against the Chiefs. Steelers at the Dolphins. I like Miami here at home. Steelers are in a mess, out of trouble right now at quarterback, and I don't like what they've got going on. And then Monday Night Football, Bears at the Patriots. This kid from New England is playing very well at rookie quarterback spot. Give me the Patriots to take on the Bears. If for some reason Chicago's got to figure out what they're doing as well. So there are my picks. Falcons, Cowboys, Titans, Packers, Bucks, Giants, Ravens, Jets, Texans, Chargers, 49ers, Dolphins, and the Patriots. And perfect timing as the music comes in. All right, everybody, I'll see you next week as well. Sunday morning, maybe have a guest here in the studio. We'll talk some football, get you ready for your week of sports. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time.